afternoon, and welcome to today's ceremony. I'm Staff Sergeant Nathan Johnson, and I will be your narrator for today's event, assisted by Technical Sergeant Rashawn Albert. Today, the men and women of the 83rd Network Operations Squadron pay special tribute to Major Michael L. Ware on the occasion of his retirement from the United States Air Force. The presiding official for today's ceremony is Colonel Donald R. Lewis, Chief of the Cybersecurity Division within the Directorate of Communications and Information, headquartered Air Force Space Command, Peterson Air Force Base, Colorado. The military retirement ceremony is one of the oldest traditions in the military, which honors its service members and their families as they culminate a distinguished career serving their country. A formal retirement ceremony is designated to leave our retirees and their families with a tangible expression of appreciation for their contributions to the Air Force and its mission, as well as our assurance that they will continue to be members of our Air Force family. Throughout the ceremony, we will be given cues to rise and be seated at the appropriate times. As a reminder, during the playing of our national anthem, military members should stand at attention, and our civilian guests should stand and place their right hand over their heart. At this time, we request that all cell phones be turned off for the duration of the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the official party and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem by Colin Ware. At this time, we would like to welcome our distinguished guests, Commander, 83rd Network Operations Squadron, Lieutenant Kevin J. Kirsch. Acting Chief Enlisted Manager, 83rd Network Operations Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant David Pay. In addition, we would like to welcome welcome some very special guests. We are pleased to have Major Ware's wife, Julie, his sons, Colin and Carson, his mother, Jerry Ware, and his mother-in-law, Janet Shaver, in attendance today. We are also fortunate to have many other extended family members, friends, and Joint Base Langley Eustis Airmen who are here to honor Major Ware on the occasion of his retirement. Thank you for your support. And now, coming all the way from Colorado, he's chiseled, he's motivated, the Colonel's Colonel, introducing, ladies and gentlemen, our presiding officer, Colonel Donald Lewis.
Thank you very much. Nothing like unsolicited applause. Where's Colin? Dude, here, you may not know this, but it's tradition that we don't applaud for the national anthem when it's sung. You may notice that except at big sporting events. But dude, you rocked it. Let's hear it for Colin. Come on. I told him I have 6 guitars and not one of them plays that well. True story. Airmen, family, friends, droids, Jawas, Jedi, members of Starfleet. You're supposed to be laughing. Thanks for coming out for Mike and Julie today. I know it means a lot to them and it means a lot to me. I spent a lot of time writing this speech and I want a lot of people to hear it. So, work with me, folks. Jerry and Janet, how wonderful that you can be here today for Mike and Julie. Thank you for sharing this day with them. And what a great way to start off Mother's Day. All mothers, stand up. Stand up. If you're a mother, stand up. Give it up for the mothers, folks. Come on. All right, Julie, Colin, and Carson, thank you for lending your husband and your dad to us for all of these years. Today, this day is special for you too. It's just as much your day as it is his because we're giving him back to you today. Please take good care of him like he did his airmen and at least one of his bosses for nearly 23 years. Thanks. Okay, show of hands. Who is attending their first retirement ceremony? You folks are in for a special treat. Retirement ceremonies are full of tradition. We're going to honor those traditions. They're full of emotion, tales of daring do and adventure and misadventure, and all the cool stuff that makes you feel good about being an American and serving America. For the rest of you, I know what you're thinking. Please, God, let this be over quick. Please let the Colonel's comments be short. Mercifully short. You've been to a million of these things, and they're all the same. For the next hour, maybe 2, you'll hear nothing more than a living eulogy of the guy sitting in the chair right there. He'll bask in the glow of radiant exaggeration while a stuffy colonel reads a chronology you've already read in the program before we came in the room. All you want is for the comments to be mercifully short and the cake and the punch to get here. You're about to be sorely disappointed. Because for one, I am not a stuffy colonel. And number 2, this guy is different from anyone you've ever met in the Air Force. Those of you who know him well know that I'm speaking the truth. So I intend to support that contention in a rather unconventional manner. We are going to stay true to our traditions, but let's have some fun today, folks. It's Friday afternoon, it's beautiful out there. Laugh at my jokes. Please, God, laugh at my jokes. If you want the Reader's Digest version of what I'm about to do so you can get out of here you go. Mike Ware got 3 consecutive bosses fired, was a crappy basketball player, took out the trash, ruined Christmas, couldn't breathe, bribed insurgents, built a network, got married, and had 2 kids. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon. Context is important, though, isn't it? Right? what you're going to hear is what I just said is actually true, but you've got to put it in the proper context. Speaking of context, roll the video.
It's yours?
No,
I must have you found in your closet.
I don't know, one of the guys was...
Rest of what?
Look, Dad, it's not like you kid. Dad,
Answer me. Who taught you how to do this stuff?
you all right? I learned it by watching you.
Parents who use drugs have children who use drugs.
Like I said, context is important, isn't it? I know what you're thinking. Why is this colonel from Colorado showing us this video? Let me state for the record, kids, drugs are bad, no matter what the voters of Colorado say. Those of you from my generation might remember that. It was a public service announcement from 1987 where the son calls out the dad as the bad example who led him astray. Well, I was sitting in my office at the National Air and Space Intelligence Center circa 2007-2008 when I heard a bunch of comm officers sitting outside of my office, standing outside of my office, and they were gossiping in an uncomplimentary way about the intel officers that had also served that organization. So, thinking my boys needed a little bit of field grade counseling, right? I walked out among them and I said, gentlemen, they may not know as much about you in terms of comms, but these are intel professionals who do very, very important things for our nation, and they're deserving of your respect. Why are you being so catty? You remember that? So they all kind of dropped their heads a little bit, all silent. I took a step back thinking I'd done my job. When the silence was pierced by a voice that screamed, "Sir, we learned it from you!" Guess who that was? I did an about-face, returned to my office, days of self-reflection followed, and that's Mike. That's Mike. Give him a perplexing situation, he'll make it fun. He'll make it work. And if you, as Mike's superior, weren't doing the same, well, that's bad juju for you. He has no patience for incompetence, and he will make things happen despite its presence. Evidence. As an honor grad out of tech school, Mike started out at Grand Forks, North Dakota, freezing his hiney off for the first 3 years of his career. He endured, no joke, 91 consecutive days in below zero temps, working mids on the flight line. Fortunately, he soon moved to the Banana Belt down the street as a defensive avionics system specialist at Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota. See what I did there? He was working on the notoriously needy B-1 bomber, and he got his Red X orders as a senior airman flight line maintenance grunt. Now, most of you are comm coach, you probably don't know what that means. But Red X orders means his superiors trusted him to ground one of these aircraft if he saw something he didn't like. That is something that we usually reserve only for much more senior NCOs. When he made staff sergeant, he found something he did like, an airman first class by the name of Julie Shaver. She became the love of his life, and in 2000 in Rapid City, South Dakota, she also became his wife. Aww. Can I get an aw? Meanwhile, back in the trenches, he became the permanent expediter for midships as a staff sergeant, which carried authority usually reserved for master sergeants. Seeing a trend here. Expediters are the guys who are counted on to anticipate what the crew chiefs are going to need to maintain the planes. And as the name expediter suggests, they have to be Johnny on the spot when a certain part or tool is needed. Mike earned this permanent role by riding shotgun for each new master sergeant they paraded in to be the new expediter on mids. And after 3 of them in a row failed and were fired, they just gave the job to Mike. Maintainers do not screw around. And neither did Staff Sergeant Ware. Not when multi-million-dollar aircraft and crew lives and lives on the ground depended on him. He took that very seriously. He also led a team which painstakingly reviewed the process by which they conducted end-to-end testing of the Lancer's electronic countermeasure system and reduced the process duration from an average of 2 weeks down to 2 days. Check, 3 days. Wasn't that good? It's almost a shame that we commissioned him. I mean, just look at him. Stand up. Doesn't he look like he ought to have grime under his nails, smelling like oil and JP4, chewing on a cigar stub, patrolling the flight line, a maintenance base, a club? There's something special about that kind of airman. Romantic, isn't it? It's the very essence of our force. And Mike has that something special. He proved it. But somebody saw something more in him, the ability to lead large numbers of airmen as an officer. So we commissioned him through ROTC in 2002 and ruined a perfectly good NCO with the process. Sit down. So around the time Mike earned his butter bars, the comm community was playing with something we called the Ace Lieutenant Program. Remember that, Kevin? Now, I know what it sounds like. It sounds like we were finding our aces and we were putting them in the most important jobs. But no. What we did was we jammed a bunch of LTs into a unit, double and triple billeting them wherever we could to get these guys and gals what we thought was more breath. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. What we created was a glut of hungry junior officers looking for precious few opportunities to excel. And there's never enough teats to go around, is there? Those were tough days. The squealing was horrible. So at the 21st Comm Squadron at Peterson, young Second Lieutenant Ware was one of 17 new lieutenants, one short of a perfect litter. And right off the bat, he clawed his way to one of 3 deputy flight commander positions, not satisfied with simply being recognized as someone with potential. He set about realizing it. His flight chief mentioned that he always assigned Mike the multifaceted, highly demanding jobs. That's a trend we'll see carried out the rest of the story. He was put in charge of 63 maintenance personnel and a $1 million budget. He was cited for incredible secure comm support for the President and air defense troops during a G8 summit, and was the 2004 Common Info CGO of the Year, the #1 of 36 eligible for that title. He also, and this should be no surprise to any of us, volunteered to augment security forces during manpower shortages and inspired his entire flight to do the same. And he was selected to serve on a panel to share his perspective on leadership to an NCO Academy class. Apparently you can take the stripes off the sleeve, but not off the heart. The coolest and most important thing that he did at Peterson, though, is become a dad, with Colin arriving in 2004. And that changed everything. Most people consider fatherhood as a sign that it's time to grow up. But with Colin in the house, that represented a Mike that finally there was somebody else he could relate to on his maturity level. And I can say that, ladies and gentlemen, because I can relate to it as well. Soon, Mike would be on his way to the National Air and Space Intelligence Center at Wright Pat, where he would meet and work with a bunch of company-grade officers and one field grader who also, in many ways, refused to grow up. It's also where Carson was born, so now there were 3 boys in the household and a whole bunch more waiting for him at work every day. This is where I met Mike, and it truly was a rebirth for me. I was doing things I hadn't done in years, things that made the Air Force special to me. We were getting up at 5 a.m. to play what we called, for very good reason, crappy basketball. We were playing officer versus enlisted football in the rain, in the snow, in the mud, and we even won a couple of those. We golfed, intramural football, softball. We resurrected First Friday at the club, which was just a ghost town before we found it. And I'm not joking when I tell you that assignment made me love being in the Air Force again, thanks in no small part to Captain Ware. This is a photo of one of my farewell gifts from NASIC. And it's an actual cast off the hand of one of the crappy basketball players, Captain Sunil Amin. And the name of the person who was the cause of that cast is written on the thumb. Mike did some genuine comm guy stuff at NASIC, to include the transition of the NASIC data center into the brand new Intelligence Processing Center, essentially a huge $300 million move of an entire data center 5 networks, and 500 servers. Just a massive, massive effort. I personally asked Mike to revamp a process we used to decommission our classified equipment after an event whereby a device which was turned into DRMO was subsequently purchased by a civilian company who patriotically turned it back in when they discovered it still had classified information on it. Mike and his team found a way to make sure that would never happen again, as far as I know it hasn't. And in the process, also decommissioned an entire hallway full of gear, a virtual mountain that had accumulated during the subsequent investigation. Perhaps most impressive, however, at least to me, is that Captain Ware was able to bust a long-standing NASIC tradition, whereby the Infrastructure Support Branch made it an annual event to forego the traditional NASIC Christmas party and celebrate the holiest of holidays at a more festive local establishment. It's true. It's a true story. For years, the men and women of his branch would skip out on the Christmas party and have an extended lunch, perhaps mostly a liquid lunch, at this place instead. And Mike convinced them that, however enjoyable this may be, it was important not to embarrass the commander by ditching the official party for something less politically correct. Plus, Julie, he told me he would just never go to a place like that. This is when something really unique happened. I was asked to send one of my best officers to the Mission Support Directorate to help resurrect a $72 million MILCON project to extend that facility that supported Mason. I chose Mike. He went from being a comm guy to a what do you need guy. A job that actually required more familiarity with civil engineering than comm. He was out of his element, and he was awesome. Within a couple of months, he whittled a 300-line punch list for that facility down to less than 50. He finished the data center move, and he drove award of a $319,000 contract that would facilitate bed down of new missions for the next 10 years. He did so well, and he was clearly having so much fun. I couldn't stand it, so I went down there and joined him. With me as the new Director of Mission Support, and Mike as my deputy, we did something I never did before, and probably never will again. Without warning, true story, the Installation Civil Engineering and Contracting Squadrons directed a stop work on our custodial contract. We learned about this, had no warning, at about 1700, close of business, on the day the trash was supposed to be collected in this facility. Mike and I looked at each other, knew there was no way that we could let that happen. We grabbed a rolling dumpster, and that captain and this lieutenant colonel, after pulling a full day, wandered the halls of that million-square-foot facility and collected trash from every office and 55 bathrooms. In addition to learning more about the hygiene habits of the NASIC population than we wanted to know, it seriously was one of my proudest and most enjoyable tasks I was ever part of in my Air Force career. Rank and status became unimportant in the face of the mission at hand. It was humbling, it was dirty work, but it was noble, and it had to get done. And I was so proud of my captain who stood by me and did whatever had to be done to get the mission done that night, without hesitation. So that was the highlight for me, hard as it sounds, but it wasn't all we did together. Here is a line from his OPR at the time. Quality of life guru. New dining facility, espresso bar, barber shop, ATM, bike rack, parking plan, resolved 71 suggestion box items. If it's under our roof, Mike has improved it. That's well written, don't you think? His willingness and ability to do whatever it takes to support the mission earned Mike a strap that read top 1% of 197 company-grade officers from the NASIC commander. Here's where Mike and Julie made a big mistake. They underestimated me. I was counseling Mike, I was looking over his records, talking about how he'd get promoted to major, and one of the things I noticed was he had never deployed. So I asked him, Mike, how come you haven't deployed? And he said he had a medical restriction for asthma. Now, I had, like I told you, played basketball with this guy at 5 a.m. in the morning, went off runs with him, play sports with him. I said, Pat, is a load of crap. There ain't nothing wrong with your lungs. He said, sir, I agree, but the doctors won't listen to me. And by the way, Julie said there's absolutely no way you can do anything about it. The gauntlet was thrown. So a year later, Mike finds himself in Iraq. Okay, wait, I know, I get it. It's really not Mike, but that's what you get when you Google Mike Ware Iraq. Let's try this. He found himself deployed to Iraq, as I said, as the U.S. Army 50th Signal Brigade battle captain, overseeing ops and maintenance for 21 sites and 800 military and civilians who operated a $450 million network for 93,000 users in their area of responsibility. He didn't just breathe over there, he spit hot fire. In addition to caring for airmen and soldiers, he led the restoration of a satellite that lost orbit, resurrecting command and control comms for 12 sites in the theater. Not bad for a guy who, until recently, was collecting the trash. He then moved on to U.S. Air Forces Europe as the 86th Comm Squadron Ops Flight Commander, where on his very first OPR became the #1 of 15 CGOs. He ran a 265-member flight and often filled the role of acting squadron commander, during which he dealt with a DUI, a felony kidnapping extradition order, several Article 15s, and a court-martial for LSD use. I was a commander for 2 years, and I never had to deal with that much UCMJ. The other thing, and Kevin, you can relate to this, this is not stuff you brag about. It's not stuff that you put on your OPRs. It's not something you're supposed to enjoy. Because if you enjoy doing that kind of work, you have no business doing it. I have no doubt that he carried out those tasks with the right kind of temerity and the right kind of compassion. But it has to be done, and he did it well. He deployed to Iraq again in 2012, advising 7 Iraqi generals. He executed 96 outside the white wire foot patrols and ran the unit in the extended absence of his lieutenant colonel commander. He weathered a fire evacuation, threats from foreign national generals, and rescued $15,000 in servers being held hostage by insurgents by knowing which palms to grease. He also completed 8 projects worth $23 million to include restoring the country's languishing 911 system, something I worked on myself 7 years earlier, but obviously not well enough. He received an achievement medal solely for that act. Mike deployed again in 2013 to Sarajevo this time to help NATO reach completion of 14 of the 19 Dayton Peace Accord tasks, a major milestone, a historical contribution to help bring stability to one of our generation's most unstable regions. And by this time, Julie was seriously regretting the lift of his medical non-deployment code. But it was over quick, and they came here to the mighty 83rd, where he and all of you completed what I recently heard General Hyten, the soon-to-be commander of Air Force Space Command, describe just earlier this week, the most significant event in the history of Air Force cyber, the completion of the AFNet migration. $10 billion in assets, a $125 million effort, 850,000 users, 39 bases, 2 years, more like 5, and finally, one Air Force, one network. Give yourselves a round of applause. If you looked at my bio, you know I personally know what a challenge it is to work AFNet Ops here and at your sister squadrons. And you should be very, very proud of what you've accomplished, what you're doing, and what you'll do. And to be the DO of this squadron is one of the toughest jobs, in my estimation, that a 17-month can have. What a perfect way to wrap up a dynamic, gritty, marvelous career. Mike, you directed 607 warriors, carrying out tactical responses during 9 named operations on the battlefield of the 21st century. And in doing so, protected arguably the most precious asset we have in the Air Force, the network that facilitates everything that we do. What an awesome responsibility, and what a great officer to bestow. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been fortunate enough to have been asked to preside at dozens of retirement ceremonies. And it's always humbling, but this one is extra special to me. When Mike asked me to preside, he wrote, "I enjoyed working for you, not just getting the job done, but I enjoyed coming to work." It sounds simple, but that is one of the finest compliments that I have ever received. And let me tell you, Mike, I feel the same way. Thank you for making the time we served together some of the most memorable and enjoyable of my career, and for our enduring friendship, and for the tremendous honor of being able to stand beside you at your last formation. I will never forget it, and I'm fiercely proud to have been able to serve with you. Thanks again, everyone, for honoring this fabulous airman today. Thank you, Mike, for all you've done for our great nation. Thank you in support of his family. And as you transition to civilian life, and this unconventional ceremony, there's really only one way for me to end this. Thank you, sir.
Please rise as Colonel Lewis presents Major Ware with the Meritorious Service Medal. Attention to orders. This is to certify that the Meritorious Service Medal, 2nd Oak Leaf Cluster, is presented to Major Michael L. Ware for meritorious service 16 August 2013, 31 August 2014. Major Michael L. Ware distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States Air Force as Director of Operations, 83rd Network Operations Squadron, 690th Cyberspace Operations Group, Air Force Space Command, Joint Base Langley, Eustis, Virginia. During this period, Major Ware led 607 military and civilian personnel directing operations on the Air Force Enterprise Network, a weapons system supporting 850,000 users and valued at $10 billion. Major Ware's leadership ensured the 67th Cyberspace Wing completed migrating 39 bases and 313,000 users from disparate networks into a single Air Force Enterprise Network, a $125 million endeavor spanning 2 years. Major Ware masterfully orchestrated the host-based security system quarantine deployment across 64 bases, dramatically increasing the Air Force's security by enforcing up-to-date virus definitions and repairing over 10,000 malfunctioning devices. Finally, he led the incident response team when the Wright-Patterson Area Processing Center showed signs of imminent failure. His team corrected the problem, but also found a remnant processor, putting an artificial workload on the processors. The rogue process was found and removed on 2 other area processing centers, forever eliminating the problem for over 400,000 users. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Major Ware culminate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit on himself and the United States Air Force. Major Ware from active duty.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, Special Order Number AC 001903. Major Michael L. Ware, effective 31 August 2014. You are relieved from active duty, 83rd Network Operations Squadron, Joint Base Langley, Eustis, Virginia, effective 1 September 2013. Per Air Force Instruction 36-3203, in the grade of Major by order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Colonel Lewis will now present the official retirement certificate from the Air Force Chief of Staff. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America, and it reads, to all who shall see these president's greetings, and this is to certify Major Michael L. Ware, having served faithfully and honorably, is retired from the United States Air Force. On the first day of September 2014, signed, Colonel William J. Poirier, Commander, 67th Cyberspace Wing, and General Mark A. Welsh III, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force. Colonel Lewis will now present the Certificate of Appreciation from the Commander-in-Chief. Certificate of Appreciation for service in the Armed Forces of the United States. Major Michael L. Ware, I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to your country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud tradition of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who will follow in your footsteps, and for all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Barack Obama, Commander-in-Chief. Additionally, Major Ware received personal congratulatory letters from former President of the United States, George H.W. Bush, and Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant James A. Cody, both of which may be viewed in the reception area. At this time, we would like to invite Major Ware's son, Carson, to come forward and present Major Ware with the Air Force retirement pin. This pin represents the contribution of over 22 years of service to our country. It is not gaudy because one serves not for recognition. A casual observer may not even notice it, but those with a keen eye will see the holidays spent alone on distant continents, the endless hours spent ensuring the readiness of our military might, honing the skills and professionalism of fellow comrades. Major Ware, when that keen-eyed person gives a knowing nod, feel as good about your choice of service we feel about you having served. Thank you, Carson.
Way to go, Carson!
At this time, we would like to present Major Ware's family with certificates of appreciation. We would like to invite his mother, Jerry Ware, to please come forward. Certificate of Appreciation. This is to certify Jerry Ware on the occasion of the retirement of her son, Major Michael L. Ware, from active duty within the United States Air Force, has earned grateful appreciation for her own unselfish and devoted service. Her unfailing support and understanding of her son's commitment helped make possible his lasting contribution to the nation. Signed, William J. Poirier, Colonel, United States Air Force, Commander, 67th Cyberspace Wing. Thank you, Jerry. Miss Julie Ware, please come forward. The United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Julie Ware for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Given this first day of September 2014, signed William J. Poirier, Colonel, United States Air Force, Commander, 67th Cyberspace Wing, and General Mark A. Welsh III, Chief of Staff of the Air Force. The United States Air Force presents this certificate of appreciation to Julie Ware. I join your spouse, family, and friends in thanking you for the numerous contributions and sacrifices you made in support of our United States Air Force. Your dedication gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service in defense of our nation. Given this first day of September 2014, signed, James A. Cody, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. Thank you, Julie. We would now like to invite Major Ware's sons, Colin and Carson, to come forward. Certificates of Appreciation. This is to certify that Colin and Carson Ware, on the occasion of the retirement of your father, Major Michael L. Ware, from active duty in the United States Air Force, have earned grateful appreciation for their own unselfish and devoted service. Their unfailing support and understanding of their father's commitment helps make possible his lasting contributions to the nation. Signed, William J. Poitier, Colonel, United States Air Force Commander, 67th Cyberspace Command. Thank you, Colin and Carson. Colonel Lewis will now present a gift to Major Ware on behalf of the men and women of the 83rd Network Operations. Major Ware, it is our honor to present you with this shadow box, which culminates your 22-year career. Enclosed is what is known as the military member's most honored and cherished possession, the United States flag. The flag which you so proudly served and so honorably defended. The flag which we honor and serve under is the true emblem of our union, our thoughts, and our power and purpose as a nation. Accept it, protect it, guard it, and ever remember that the young men and women you have trained, guided, and inspired will follow in your footsteps and defend it with equal pride.
I see the lightsaber. Pretty awesome.
Thank you, Colonel Lewis. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you Major Michael L. Ware, retired.
Thanks for everybody for coming. I'm going to start off all the thank yous first. So, sir, yes, it's been, it was fun. It was fun to work. We had there's so many stories that we had at NASIC and the group of people that we had together. But it was just fun to work. It reblued me. And I don't know if you caught what he was saying was Mission Support had lost the director. And he convinced the NASIC commander to put a captain as director of operations, but there was no director. So I had a secretary, I had a huge office, I had the best parking spot in the building, and I had a tremendous job when I had Lieutenant Colonel squadron commanders inside the center coming and demanding things of me. Sorry, I can't help you. But he put me in that job, and it was amazing, the opportunity, and of course it came with doing all the bathroom stuff and everything else. We had lots of stories. So anyway, thanks to, I'm going to rewind, I think 5 years ago I did the same gift for you when you left. I think you finished most of it on the golf course. And I would also like to thank the team that put all this together. If you're retired and you need help and you can find them, then maybe you can hire a team. I had a lot of thought about I wanted to make this fun and a lot of music and a lot of other things, so I was a little demanding and saying, no, I don't want this, I don't want that. And so I hope you enjoy it. Then next we have my family. So for Julie is my everything, my best friend. She's been through everything. She's moved everywhere by herself. Germany several times, and she is my Disney princess. And of course, the flowers is the same bouquet from our wedding to several people have made trips that were at my wedding and are here today. And also, she's also enjoying a year subscription to Audible. Next, my mom, thanks for letting me go and believing in me all the years. Now she's traveling, so no flowers, but I got her book. And Janet, thanks for letting me have your daughter. Janet as well is traveling, and so I got her a new book that's highly recommended from So thank you for all the support. I know Julie was alone a lot, and you probably heard all about it. And Colin Carson, Christmas, birthdays, all missed, camping trips, soccer. So what every kid wants, Secret Wars. I loved this book when I was a kid, and everybody's envious of the Lego kid, right? All right. Thank you. All right. I'd also like to recognize which people that came in. I haven't got to talk to them. Sergeant Thompson, who was stationed at Langley, that we were in South Dakota together. Sergeant Bonds, we were in Germany together. Vince Lau, we were also in Germany together. Marcus and Michelle, who were in South Dakota. So I'll take a minute. So Marcos worked on the B1, but I don't think he ever actually worked on the B1. When communications started, every squadron had to build their own network and build their own everything. And Marcos was the guy who was picked for that, so I don't think he ever worked on the B1 and just did that. And meantime, his wife Michelle, she's a doctor, and I think in like 5 doctorates, I don't know. But, so she was going to school the entire time, but and then Greg, my friend Greg. So 1991 in Grand Forks, that's how long we've known each other. I think we've lived together like 11 years and different roommates and stuff. So he's here. And Rich Schnover from Grand Forks, North Dakota. So I know those guys know the sign and the 91 days of consecutive below zero. So thanks everything. I got some friends from the Scouts are here. So thanks, Scouts for coming. And so I don't know what I want to say. So I'm going to tell a story, and then I'm probably going to just be done. I don't want to get up here and give advice and ramble, which I'm starting to do. So how did I commission? Well, just taking my cue from Captain Kirk in the Kobayashi room, I cheated. I had worked on the flight line, the guys know, going to school all the time. It took me 3 universities to finish my bachelor's degree. So I got that done. And then Julie, after a normal South Dakota winter, basically said, we're leaving South Dakota. I don't care how we're doing it, but we're leaving. So we had taken a vacation to Oregon. We'd never been there before. Beautiful. And they had a job fair out there, so we used that as an excuse to go. She applied for some jobs. She also worked on the D1, so she applied for a bunch of mechanic type jobs, technician jobs. I just got my degree in computers. No experience, but I was trying to apply for computer jobs in the spring of 2001. Not a good time to try to get a computer job. So in the meantime, I applied for cross-training into 3C and put out some feelers to different ROTC units. So this all happened in 3 days. 3 days. Monday, I got a call from the AFDC, which is the personnel center who does the cross-training and stuff. Said, you're good, you're going to get cross-training, you're going to be a 3C, we're getting a tech school date for you. So, yay, we're out. So I go home, we talk to Julie. She said, well, I had that interview with Oregon State Lottery. I'm going to call them and pull my resume. So she called them on Tuesday to pull her resume, and they said, are you sure? Because we're going to hire you on Friday. And she's like, I am not sure. My husband. So we talked about it, but I've got 10 years in, I'm close to retirement, and we're getting out of South Dakota, I'm cross-trained, it's all good. So she was like, okay, I'll go ahead and pull the resume. So Wednesday, I go into work, and of all places, Oregon State University calls me and says, hey, we have a 1-year ROTC program. We don't ever have this. It's normally at least 2 years or longer. We have this one time, you already have your bachelor's degree. All you have to do is separate. Way easier. We'll just assess you as a civilian. You'll be commissioned this time next year. Okay. So I called Julie's like, hey, you want to take that job? So she went and worked for the Oregon State Lottery, working on video lottery machines. Our running joke is she would refurbish them and also go out to the field and repair them at bars. So the joke is she was at more strip clubs in Oregon than I was. So I went and I worked on an MBA.
at Oregon State University, where she worked with the Oregon State Lottery. And then the next summer, I went to field training, which is basic training for officers, and they send me to South Dakota for field training. So I go back, and they're like, all right, guys, you have to get to lunch. Here's a map. Don't be late. So I'm like, hey, I know everything on this base. I've been here for 7 years. In fact, the supply guy giving us our equipment when we came in was supply. It was Mike Anderson from Supply on the Pipeline. I pointed to them because they know Mike Anderson. So it's been a very small Air Force, running into all sorts of people. So yeah, so I get there, I commission, and that's how I cheated my way into. But the only caveat was I was turning 30, so you lose commission, you lose scholarship if you turn 30. So I got a partial MBA from Oregon State University, approximately 36 to 45 credits, of which none transferred when I changed schools to finish my MBA. So all total 5. So here's my life lesson on that is I don't really believe in luck. I believe in preparation and opportunity. I was prepared by going to school, and there was an opportunity that I was able to take advantage of. So please take that for what it's worth. So that was the story I wanted to tell. And so again, thank you for coming. I would love to see anybody at the after party at 1800 tonight at Park Lane. Sorry, 6 o'clock, right? So I got to second. And the one last thing I want to do for you, thank you for coming, is you have a gift taped to the front of the chair. It's an autographed copy of any random number of comic books that I've signed myself with all sorts of make it so and live long and prosper. So please enjoy your gift, enjoy your souvenir. Thank you for coming. I like everything about this ceremony. I love the Air Force. It's done well, and it's just time to go. So thank you. Thank you all.
Immediately following this ceremony, you can go do your main thing. Only time we get to give an order to a colonel. Immediately following the ceremony, we invite everyone to join Major Ware and his family for a brief post-ceremony reception. Major Ware, the men and women of the United States Air Force, are proud to have served with you and assure you that you will always be a valuable member of our Air Force family. We wish you every success in your future endeavors. Live long and prosper. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay rise for the departure of the official